Rules and procedures that will follow for tonight's meeting.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Town of Babylon Zoning Board of Appeals. The following is the procedure that will be followed tonight. The matters will be called in the order they appear on the calendar, with adjourned matters being called at the end of the regularly scheduled matters. Matters cannot be heard prior to their published scheduled time. When your matter is called, please submit the affidavit of posting to the secretary and proceed to the podium and give your name and address. The chairperson will then swear you in and read into the record information we have from your application, comments from various town departments, and any correspondence received on your application. The chairperson will then ask you to make whatever presentation you wish to make to the board. After you have made your presentation, the board will ask whatever questions the board deems appropriate, and then we will ask for comments from the public. If you wish to speak for or against an application, we ask that you wait until you're acknowledged. Come forward, give us your name and address, tell us where your property is in relation to the property that's in question tonight, and then please direct your comments to the board, not the applicant or the applicant's representative. We have to keep a record, and we cannot do that if there are people talking over each other or cross conversations. If someone has spoken for or against an application, and they have said exactly the same thing that you wish to say, it will have the same force and effect in the record if you give your name and address, are sworn in, and say that you join in those comments. If you have anything additional to say, please don't hesitate to do so, but keep in mind that you will be given only one opportunity to speak. After the public has spoken, the board may ask the applicant to come back to answer any questions that may have come up as a result of the public comments, or for the applicant to summarize. When the applicant comes back to answer any additional questions, if that happens, that does not start a second round of public comments. Once the matter has been heard, various things may occur. The board may decide the application immediately. It may reserve decision. If the board reserves decision, that does not mean the matter is approved or denied. It just means that the board needs more time to decide, may want to go out and look at the site again, or might want to review the documents and testimony further before making a decision. In either event, the applicant will receive the board's decision in writing shortly after the board makes its decision. If the application is approved, that does not mean that you can then go ahead and start construction or whatever it is that you requested from the board. You will have to wait for the building permit to be obtained from the building department before your go-ahead. On some occasions, the matter may be continued for another night. If it is continued, in most cases it will be for the submission of documents, a new survey, new plans, or something of that nature. If that's the case, no one needs to come back on the new date. The documents will be submitted and no further testimony will be taken. On rare occasions, a matter may be continued for future testimony. If that's the case, then people would have to come back to testify. If matters are adjourned at an open meeting on the scheduled date of hearing, no further notice need be given unless specifically required by the board on the date the adjournment is granted. 3 rules that may affect your ability to proceed tonight. 1. If the sign was not posted for 10 days, we cannot hold the hearing tonight. 2. If you commence this proceeding while you own the property, but no longer own the property, and you are here now to continue with the application, you will need either the written consent of the new owner or the new owner to be present for the hearing. This situation could come about if you sold your house or building, money was held in escrow at closing for a certificate of occupancy or permit, and you're here tonight to clear that up. Lastly, if your application is a commercial application, and it's other than a renewal, and there is more than one tenant in the building, then you need your landlord to be here. Is there any applicant that has any difficulty with those situations and would need an adjournment tonight?
Is there anyone who would need an adjournment? Please rise and join the board in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we begin, there's one adjournment on tonight's calendar. It's application 25059. Property is located in West Babylon. Is there anybody here on that application? Okay, that application is going to be held next week, May the 15th. All right. First application tonight is application 25060 of Pavlo Tukchek, property located in Copeg. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Nicole Blanda. I'm an attorney at Bazell, Blanda, and Visconti with offices at 535 Broad Hollow Road in Melville.
Okay, for the record, we have a planning division memo dated May 1st, 2025. Environmental control memo dated May 6, 2025. Fire marshal's report dated May 8th, 2025. And comment is furnish this office with a scale drawings to review and comment on in regards to compliance with HJ, local, town, county, state, and federal law codes and standards. Surveyed by Ward Brooks, dated June 9th, 2021. Tax map acting as an area map. And
Chairman, there's 3 photographs in the site plan by Yuri Tubicek, dated July 17, 2020.
And can we just make the amendment for the subject premises to include 1665 Great Neck Road?
okay, I'll amend the application 25060 to amend the 1649, 1653 Great Neck Road and 1665 Great Neck Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. What would you like to tell us about the application?
I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant requesting a rear yard setback variance for an existing 2-story detached garage building that is part of an overall redevelopment of this property with a mixed-use project. The premises is located on the west side of Great Neck Road, about 65 feet south of Oak Street. It is in the downtown Copeg zoning district. It has a lot area of 25,095 square feet. Currently, it's improved with an existing 2-story building that is located along the westerly property line. It is a garage on the first floor currently, and it's approximately 21 by 42 feet. This structure was built back in 1920, so over 100 years ago. And for many, many years, it was used in conjunction with a 2-family home that has since been demolished. This board had also given, I think, 3 special permits over the years, beginning in 2000, and then followed in 2011 and 2015 for the 2-family home and the garage to be used as, bless you, a proprietary home, and there was habitable space within that garage. So since then, the applicant took ownership of the premises. We appeared before the planning board back in February and presented the site plan, which the planning board has jurisdiction over, to them at that time. I'd like to just give the board a brief overview of the site and how this garage fits into the context of the overall mixed-use development here. So they're proposing a 3-story mixed-use building that you can see that's closer to Great Neck Road on the site. On the first floor, they would have a deli. They already have that tenant that would relocate from another site and come to this site, as well as 2 office spaces. Then within the 2nd story and the 3rd story, they're proposing 19 apartments. The theory behind keeping the existing building that's along the westerly property line, which is basically a garage currently, is that there's currently an easement. I don't know if we have the highlighted site plan, if that's more helpful, but if not, there's currently a 20-foot wide access easement that leads out to Oak Street. So the easement, you could see the highlighting there. As long as the garage exists, the easement remains. If the garage is demolished, the easement is terminated. That's just how the easement was set up many, many years ago. So when planning originally saw this and was doing all the departmental review, they really liked the idea of having a second means of ingress and egress to the site. So rather than demolishing the garage and adding parking over there, they thought it best to keep that building and use it in conjunction with the site, and then keep it so that it would also leave that 20-foot wide easement keep it alive, basically, so that you could access over the other property and lead out to Oak Street. So there's a single variance that we're here for. The required setback in this zone for the rear yard is 15 feet. This building is at .8. Again, it's been there since 1920. On the first floor would be a carport of sorts. It's 3 spaces, then a lobby and a bathroom. And then on the second floor is what's going to be the real estate management office. So you'll see on the floor plan, there's 2 little offices and then an open work area where they'll have their conference table, they'll store their files, what have you. But we do consent to the covenant that's being requested that it remain a real estate management office for the site. The property owner will be managing the site, and they have other real estate as well within that, within the Copeg area. So the closest property to us, where we immediately abut, is actually a parking lot, and it's a parking lot for 418-482 Oak Street, which is going to be under construction for an apartment-style building. Darius Murkowski was the applicant for that project. So again, this building has been there, it exists, it's been there for over 100 years, and it abuts a parking lot, and it will stay a parking lot because that's how planning approved that site. So we don't believe that there's any negative effect in keeping this structure or any impact on the community, given that it's been there for over 100 years. And again, the reason to keep it is to keep this easement. Otherwise, if it wasn't there, we wouldn't have access to Oak Street. The world would keep spinning. We'd have access on Great Neck Road, but I think the thought process was it was better to have 2 forms of ingress and egress. There was a question in the planning memo regarding why they were raising the roof a little bit. It's really for aesthetics. There's no attic space, there's no mechanicals. They're raising the roof by 3 feet. Presently, the garage has like a flat roof. It looks kind of ugly. But in order to match the renderings and how the front building would look, they wanted to give the peaks and raise the roof over here to establish that. You can kind of, on this rendering, you could see it in the back. So this way it matches. It's like a sister building to it. It just makes sense if you're going to spend all the money on that, larger building in the front to refurbish and put a new facade on the building in the back. It meets the height requirement. We're not asking for a height variance, but there was a question in the memo, so I just wanted to address that. Otherwise, we do consent. There are several covenants being asked for. Yes, the tax lots will be merged. I believe Planning Board is asking for that as well. The office use in the garage shall only be used for the purposes of site management and cannot be used for any other business. We consent to that. No residential units permitted in the garage, and no auto body repair work permitted in the garage. We consent to all 4 of those covenants. If the board has any questions, or if you want me to walk you through the site plan, like the overall site, I'm happy to do so.
Okay, thank you. So what's the garage? Kind of walk me through the garage. Like, what are those bays going to be used for?
Parking for the office or parking for employees that work in the mixed-use building. So there'll be a deli and 2 offices in the mixed-use 3-story building that's closer to Great Neck Road. The parking, they could either assign a spot to one of those tenants as an employee space, or they'll use the parking for their real estate management office and keep it to themselves.
So is it still going to be garage, like garage doors, or are they going to just be open spaces?
I believe it's an open space, almost like a carport
Like a
situation. Yeah, it does look like they have, right, doesn't that say carport? Let me just, I think it's supposed to, the idea is to be able to pull in and out.
Carport, it says it on there, okay. As far as the revisions made to the site plan, they're
No
not
further
gonna create
variances.
No more variances?
Correct,
Create no
right,
other
no further.
variances?
Yeah. The revisions included the RPZ room. We had to show a mail room, nothing that would affect the variances.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions from the board?
Yeah, with the 3 feet added, what will be the total height of the garage?
26 feet, and 3 stories are permitted in the downtown Copeg.
Total height of the garage?
26 feet, yes.
26 feet.
Any other questions from the board? You good, John? Would anyone like to be heard on this application? Name and address for the record, please.
Susan G. Russo, 395 Grant Avenue, Copac, New York, 11726. I'm keeping the cane.
Do you affirm to tell the truth?
The whole truth and nothing but.
Okay, would you like to tell us?
I appreciate the easement staying as it is. It still doesn't help with the direction of the traffic going in and out of Oak Street. You're going to have people trying to get out of that easement. The whole opportunity that we've had as residents for this property is the amount of traffic at that corner on Great Neck Road and Oak Street. Anyone who's driven down Oak Street knows that that turning light, if you want to go north on Great Neck Road off of Oak Street, you can get 1.5 cars through the red light turning light. You're going to try to come out and make a left when all of those cars are trying to make that light. You're asking for an accident. There also is the issue with the traffic on the egress coming out of the south side of the apartment buildings. There is no egress for somebody who wants to go northbound on Great Neck Road. So they have to go south on Great Neck Road, make a left on Hollywood, which is a residential street, then go up to Lafayette, make a right onto Hollywood, make another right on Lafayette, and you're coming out at Oak Street again with no light again. There is no light between Oak Street and Bayview. So that creates a huge opportunity. There are multiple accidents there. Joe can attest to that. He's our tow truck guy. My husband's one of the firemen. Multiple accidents there. We're looking for more with this kind of traffic coming in and not the proper egress for it. You know, if you're pulling out of that apartment onto Great Neck Road and you want to go north, you're going to try to cut across. So you're not only going to block the southbound traffic, you're going to block the turning lane, and then you're going to block the northbound traffic. That's going to be an issue. It's diagonally across from the school. You've got kids walking back and forth for school all the time. This is a problem waiting to happen. The shared parking, there's not enough parking. We've talked to the shop owners. They don't want people taking their valuable parking spots that their customers want to use for somebody to park overnight because they rented one of those units. I would really urge you all to think again about the use of this property. It's too much for that corner. Maybe if it was further away from Oak Street and Great Neck from that congested area, you might have a possibility of getting it without resistance. But as it is now, I live on Grant, which is less than 1/4 mile from Oak Street South. It takes me on any weekday to get past Oak Street at least 10 minutes. And that's to go 1/4 mile, to go up Great Neck Road. So anybody who lives there doesn't go up Great Neck Road. We have to take side streets. So that's putting more people at risk of people blowing stop signs because people are in a rush to get to work, where traffic lights at least kind of control the flow. People look at stop signs as if they're optional. So please, I ask you all to kindly reconsider this application. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to be heard on this application? Name and address for the record.
Donna Farina, 370 Florida Avenue, Copac.
You affirm to tell the truth?
I
Okay.
do.
What'd you like to tell us?
Okay. I myself work at Blizzard Fence, that's right on Great Neck Road, right around the corner from this building, and I'm also the president of the Copac Chamber of Commerce and representing the businesses in our area, which I do not discriminate from any business coming into our area. I welcome them. But before we have spoken about the traffic, which Sue just said, and I'm just going to go along with what she was saying because I agree with it, the traffic is horrendous at that Great Neck Road itself. Matter of fact, they're putting another light in by the railroad, which they're not in sync to begin with, so this is even more additive to it. And Oak Street, last time we spoke about loading docks and trucks and whatnot coming in and out of there, I don't know if they ever resolved that problem because there's tractor trailers, box trucks, everything up and down Great Neck Road and Oak Street. And also, they were going to use the parking lot, like Sue said, and in front of the businesses for additional parking, which they cannot, because these businesses alone don't have enough parking for customers, and the overflow goes into that parking lot. And I feel if you're going to build this apartment building with these tenants, you should accommodate a space for each tenant, and thereafter some extras for guests and whatnot. So I just would consider this. I think it's a big project. It's a big building. It's just a lot of issues that are going to come upon this. I wish they would just maybe make it a little bit less apartments in there. I think, it would be better off. I mean, either way, they're probably going to build this, but I just think less is probably better. And I know the fire department had a problem with this. The schools had a problem with this, which I don't think they're allowed to say too much, but the fire department did have big problems with this, especially getting trucks there and rescue trucks over there and whatnot. So I'm just speaking really for the businesses and the area in Copiague. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to be heard on this application? Name and address for the record, please.
Hello, Marlena Borkowski. I live in Syosset, but I do work on 1644 Great Neck Road. I'm an owner of a Polish deli. So,
Do you affirm to tell the truth?
yes, I do.
Go ahead.
So, from what I heard before, there is also a lot of traffic, yes. I try to get out of work at 2:33 to get in time to Syosset by 3:30, just because my youngest daughter gets off the bus. Getting from Great Neck Road to Dixon takes me about 10 minutes, yes. So the traffic the congestion on Great Neck Road is huge. My main concern is getting another Polish store into the commercial space in that building. We already have walking distance 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 2-minute walk from my place to a Polish store next, 2 doors down. There's a store across from it next to the building that they're trying to build, and there's one around the corner on Oak Street. The supermarket next to me sells Polish. There's 2 more supermarkets that are not Polish, but they do sell Polish food. So my main concern is for the little small businesses that we have. Putting another Polish store in that building will cause someone a downfall in our business. So that's kind of my main concern.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sure.
Would anyone else like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none. So talk to me about a couple of things. First of all, the parking. Is there enough parking for the amount of, I know this doesn't ask for a parking variance, but
Correct.
where?
So we requested a parking waiver from the planning board for 3 spaces. We're providing 28, 31 are required. We're allowed to ask for a 20% shared parking, which we presented at the planning board. We had our traffic engineer there. They presented the parking study, and so that's under review by the planning board.
Who are you sharing spaces with?
So the code says that you can share parking for on-street and the municipal lot. There's a municipal lot on the corner. Basically, any place within 500 feet that is either on-street parking or municipal goes into the analysis. And pursuant to the code, the planning board they have the discretion to give a 20% reduction. So in this case, 20% would equal 6 spaces. We're only asking for 3.
So on-site,
We have 28.
you have on 28 spaces?
Yes.
For 19 apartments?
Yes. And then the idea would be that the businesses operate during the day. They wouldn't be parking overnight. So for the 2 office users and the deli use, that closes, and then whoever's parking overnight would have full reign over the parking lot.
Does that include the carport spaces, or does that not include the carport spaces?
We had to include them in our parking calc, so they really are fair game even at night.
Okay. Talk to us about getting in and out of here, because I live in Copiague, so trying to make a left turn on either Oak Street or Great Neck Road is there going to be no turn signs there? Not that people are going to abide by it, but,
Right, that's the problem with those no left turn signs. You see them a lot, but people tend to. That's under review as well. We left that with the planning board. We said that we were open to the idea. We haven't heard back.
is that what they think should be the fix, is no left turns going out of either of those locations?
So Cameron Engineering was acting as the town's traffic safety consultant, and Nelson and Pope was acting as the applicant's traffic consultant. And neither of them had asked for that, but it did come up at planning board. So I'd have to check with Mr. Esposito and see, because he's the planner on the job, and see if there was a conclusion to that.
I mean, I think that's something we somehow or other need to figure out, because it's a problem. There's no doubt in my mind it's a problem. Trying to make a left, if you're going out on Oak Street trying to make a left to go west, and
Right,
if you're coming out on Great Neck trying to make a left to go up to the
yeah.
north, wherever, you know.
I suppose the problem on Oak Street, at least for now, is that you have a whole separate property owner. I don't know if we have the aerial available, but there's a strip center that's on the corner of Great Neck Road and Oak. And so they own that, and they do get to go and come as they please. I don't believe there is a no left. So if we try to impose that on another property owner, I'm not really sure how that would work, even just authority-wise. That's something I can talk to planning about, but certainly on Great Neck Road, the planning board would have the authority to say they want, or perhaps this board. But Oak Street is just a little dicey because we don't actually own that stretch. We have an easement over it.
Have an easement over it though, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're the lawyer, I'm not, so tell me
Right,
how
I'd
that
have to,
works.
yeah, I'd have to look into it and talk to them about it because it's a whole separate property owner that probably is currently going in and out, like I said, as they please.
I mean, those are two big question marks in my mind, honestly. I think the parking, I think you'll be okay there as far as that goes, but making the lefts out of this location, you need to come back with something for that, I would say.
In order to keep the garage.
Well, yeah, I mean, because if you don't keep the garage, you don't have the access onto Oak Street.
Correct, then we just have access on Great Neck Road.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I'm not sure how you could solve it necessarily, but making left turns at either one of them is a problem. So,
Sure, so I'll
I
go
mean,
back.
the access, I think, is good. I mean, having two ways of getting out.
Right.
And I guess in too, right? You can go either way, in or out.
Correct.
Off Oak Street.
Correct.
Which might be helpful going in, I guess, but getting out, I think, is an issue, so. Okay, you guys are looking into it.
Sure, yep.
You'll get back to us with that, all right?
Just a question. Do you think that people coming from Oak going to Great Neck will try to cut through your parking lot to go to the other one, to go to Great Neck Road?
I don't believe they do that now, but I don't know. You mean in terms of like just the regular public?
Yes, the regular public, because when there's a red light there, maybe they want to
Yeah.
shortcut and try to go through the parking lot and go through, Great Neck Road from Oak.
I mean, it's an interesting question. Again, I can talk to planning and traffic safety and ask them when they did their review, did they consider that? Again, if we didn't keep the
Let me ask you
garage,
something,
we'd
just-
have the parking. So the garage doesn't really drive the job. I think they consented to do this because they felt that's what they were asked to do. So I understand where you're coming from, but it puts the applicant kind of in the middle. So I'm happy to discuss it with planning and see, and traffic safety and see what we can come up with.
Okay.
The size of
That's all I can offer.
What are the size of these apartments? One bedroom, two bedroom?
There's studios and one bedrooms. Yep, there's, I
breakdown?
believe, 6 studios and 13 one bedrooms. So it's a mix. And we're under the density. We're allowed to have 20 units, we have 19.
In the downtown.
Downtown Copiague, correct.
All right, any more questions from the board? Okay, thanks, everybody. We'll take it all into consideration, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. That concludes the live streaming portion of our meeting. We will now continue with the rest of